the next day turned into I didn't sleep for days. The day after we launched it, I learned very quickly that launching a food product in the beginning of September, and it's still extremely hot in most of America, chocolate melts.
Chocolate melts.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay.
And when it melted, it had an impact on the taste with the lion's mane, with the functional mushrooms.
Okay.
So all these years and months of making sure everything tasted perfect completely changed on day one of launching.
Yeah.
We'll refine it. We want to get you new product. We're going to make it right to you. But, oh no, there's a total disaster on supply chain. This was during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
There were boats lined up outside of Long Beach. We had product on there. We had our packaging. We had ingredients. 12 weeks was the next time we could make bars.
Oh, no.
We had people on subscription. We had people that wanted new products because of the chocolate melting.
Yeah.
We had everything.
Everything went wrong.
Everything that could. So what seemed like the best day ever of launching and selling out, the next day turned into I didn't sleep for days. Hey, I'm Patrick Schwarzenegger. I'm an actor, entrepreneur, and founder of MOSH, and you're watching Behind the Brand with Brian Elliott.
Everyone, welcome to another episode of the show. Patrick, welcome.
Brian, thank you.
I usually ask my guests, how did you get this job?
Being here with you.
Well, we're talking about MOSH today. I know you've got other things going on in your life.
Yep.
You're a multi-hyphenate.
I try.
But how did you get here? How did you get this job?
MOSH, whoa, gosh. I mean, we like to say that MOSH was really born out of the last 20 years of my mom's kind of mission work and work towards Alzheimer's research. But really, it really boiled down to when COVID happened. I moved back home with my mom, me and my fiance and my mom. As you can imagine, that was a very fun dynamic. Mm-hmm. And my mom, for the months and months and kind of years before, had been pitching this idea to kind of larger conglomerates about how can I go and create a product line, a food product line that educates people about what they eat impacts their brain health. And she had been going back and forth, and then COVID happened, and her whole kind of idea perished. And so when I moved back home with her, I said, why don't I just get it off the ground for you? I have enough experience in kind of the CPG space. I have a lot of, relationships with manufacturing, co-mans, kitchens, branding, website, marketing, that I can get this off the ground, and we can try to see, is there a proof of concept? So
that's generous of you.
It was. I mean, at the time, the whole film industry was pretty much paused, as was every industry for most parts during COVID. And so it was kind of like a fun thing that we could work on together out of her kitchen. And it really just started with kind of like, how do we combine these different ingredients and vitamins and things that you're taking for brain health into a product that we can sell?
I love that. Okay, that's sort of how we got here. Let's go back in the chronology a little bit.
Yep.
Let people get to know you a little bit better who may not. You say you have CPG experience. That's cool.
Yeah.
You've got all this experience with sourcing and whatnot. Let's go back to young Patrick.
Sure.
You come from, you have a famous name. You have a sort of a legacy already attached to you. What did you want to be when you grew up? What were you thinking about young Patrick, even, maybe in elementary school, middle school, high school?
Yes.
What's your dream?
It was a mix of where I'm at today. I think that kind of young Patrick would think that he's living out his dream, which was to be kind of a businessman and to be an actor, which I kind of obviously get from my dad, and have learned from him and kind of wanted to emulate a lot of his career choices as well. But young Patrick, little Patrick, for, I think it was my 5th or 6th birthday, I got one of those kind of remote, those cars that you kind of sit in and you can drive as a kid that go like 5 miles an hour.
Yeah, sure.
And my dad got me one, and my mom, that it was like kind of a truck. And they got it for me because I loved setting up lemonade stands. Mm-hmm. It was my favorite thing to do on weekends and do it with my family. So they got me this truck thing, and we would set up a little table in the back of the truck, and I would drive it down the street, and my parents would walk by me. And that was kind of like my first experience of business. Mm-hmm. And it was very much like my dad teaching me, okay, we would buy the Crystal Light, packets, and you would get this water, the filtered water, and okay, these are how many Crystal Light packets go into the water. Now that's how much it costs you. Now, how do you make a profit? Now how many cups do you get from this big jug, and then you double it for your costs and your revenue and that was like my first way of learning about business, was a lemonade stand. And
I have to say, that's awesome, but I'm also a little bit surprised that your dad, knowing sort of what a health nut he is, that you would default to Crystal Light and not like.
Well, this was, by the way,
naturally squeezed lemons.
Yeah, I know, but you have to think about. Yes, that's true. I mean, you could do it with lemons, and that's just what I did back in the day.
Yeah.
Today, you can find hundreds of different healthier versions of lemonade or of any sort of drink out there.
Yeah.
So the landscape's totally changed in the last 20-something years.
Well, it's probably an efficiency thing too. You've got a younger kid. I mean, for how old are you? Maybe 8 or something?
Yeah, around.
I mean, 8-year-old squeezing lemons is not super efficient.
Yeah, I mean, the goal was to teach me about very basics of business.
Yeah.
And I had fun doing it, and I loved it. And at the same time, that was when my dad was still acting, or he is now, but I would go to sets and learn about acting and film, and
Sure.
I fell in love with that. So I think I'm pretty much doing exactly what I hoped I would do when I was that age.
Yeah, so I mean, it sounds like, and I was kind of the same way with, I did a lot of baseball card.
Yes, I loved it, yeah.
Arbitrage.
Yeah.
Different things. It's sort of in you or it's not, right, from the beginning.
Right.
And so what was it then about the lemonade stand? Was it the fact that you were like doing commerce, or like you had your own business, or did you like the pricing, like customers interaction?
It was a mix of it all. I was always a numbers kid.
Yeah.
Every morning my dad would do this thing called the ladder with us. And we had to do that before we went to school. And it was keeping the story short, you would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then he would choose a random number, and you would have to times that by 1, then times it by 2, and then after you get to 9, you'd have to reverse and make sure that it divided by that number to get it, and it had to all be the same numbers all the way down.
Well, is this like some sort of math quiz? Like
math quiz, get your brain going and before school and stuff. But I just was like, I loved numbers, and I loved math and business, and then my dad kind of, he's a firm believer of, kind of immersing yourself into a business situation to learn rather than in a classroom. And so he put me in charge of his memorabilia, all for charity. This was not for profit, but to help me understand business in a different degree of printing out his photos, signed photos, or we got dumbbells made, or humidors, or all these different things to kind of learn about sourcing. And once again, what does it cost? How much time are you putting into that? How do you add that into your cost? How do you double that? What is the difference between revenue and profit and all these different things? It was just a way to learn. But then my career really shifted around 16, 17, when I got involved in the CPG, better for you health and wellness space. And that was really just by accident of being a struggling consumer. I started to get really into working out and health and wellness and what I was eating and what I was buying and nutritional info and caloric info, all these different things.
Yeah.
And was just struggling to find things that I enjoyed eating that were good for me. And so I just really was like talking to my family, and I was like, I want to go out and try to find products that are, touching the space.
Yeah.
The healthier alternative. And that's how I got into this field.
Yeah. I mean, so it sounds like it's over 10 years in the making.
Yeah. Today, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I got involved with my first food business, which was Blaze Pizza, when I was 16, so 14 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the wellness space is really popular and active right now.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a decade ago.
No, maybe I was a little early on the trend, which was great, but I also, was still learning a lot during that time. Looking back on it, do I wish I put way more time and money and effort into this field 14 years ago? Of course. But it's been a great learning experience.
Yeah. I mean, you're a Schwarzenegger kid, so you sort of can't avoid health, fitness, being conscious about your body. I mean, that's just...
Right.
I mean, it's literally in your DNA.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you were a little bit ahead of the curve. And what were some of the things that you were observing at that time? I mean, just to put into perspective, from 10, 14 years ago, I mean, let's just go to 2010, because that's a good Mark, this is the year that Instagram comes out, right? Like social media is just starting to ramp up.
Right.
Twitter's a few years old, YouTube's a few years old, Instagram, boom, comes out, and people start recognizing that they can start marketing themselves on social. Mm-hmm. But the wellness space, I think, is taking a little while to get heated up. So what are some of the things that you've been seeing?
So I guess if we go back to 2010, right? So that's when I was first getting involved with Blaze Pizza. And once again, I was just a struggling consumer looking for, companies that were touching the better for you health and wellness space.
Yeah.
Someone pitched me an idea of let's create a more transparent and, Subway or Chipotle, but for pizza, where customers can go down the aisle and they can pick their ingredients and you can watch it be made in front of you. And it's way healthier than a Domino's. You're watching someone make it. And I was like, this is genius.
Also, it's customization.
Yeah, exactly. That was huge.
Big trend
and everything, it was, pizza, pop, etc., under $10. And I was like, I'm in.
Yeah.
So I invested in it. The company grew from 0 to 360 stores. It was the fastest growing fast casual restaurant in all of North America. But probably the best learning experience from it was when I opened my own franchises, which was not the financial move. But I got to learn a lot more about consumers and what customers were looking for. And that was kind of the best experience for me because we had deals with, Coca-Cola, we had stuff with certain chips, we had stuff with certain water companies. And what I found so fascinating was as 2010, 2011, 2012, every year passed by, consumers were asking for different types of products. They no longer just wanted the soda machines. They didn't want just the normal type of Lay's chips. They wanted kettle chips. They wanted pop instead of fried. They wanted, instead of normal crust, they wanted low-carb crust, or they wanted cauliflower crust. They wanted, different meat options. They wanted plant-based meats. They wanted, instead of Dasani waters or whatever, they wanted smart water. They wanted Fiji. They wanted, there's this starting to see a little bit of a macro shift. And once I started to see that, I said, you know what, I want to sell out of the pizza company, and I want to take all that money, and I just want to go and find better for you health and wellness companies, all that are tackling the large addressable marketplaces, but are providing the Americans with the healthier version.
Yeah.
And so that's...
What sort of resources did you cash out your chips. What sort of, was it 6, 7, 8, 9 figures? What did you take and then parlay into wellness?
That was, at the time it was a 5-figure check originally into the company. Came out 7-figure check. So the company was a massive success. Stupidly, I thought that's what always happens from now on when I invest in companies, you know? So I've had a lot of, losses to date, and I've had a lot of great wins, but ultimately, so I took that capital and parlayed it into, like I said, other companies. So, at the time I was just looking at macro trends of what are companies doing to provide the American with the better version. So very simply, Super Coffee was the low sugar Starbucks Frappuccino. Olipop and Poppy were the low sugar sodas.
Sure.
Liquid IV was the low sugar Gatorade. It was just a very simple messaging to the consumer. And so those are the kinds of companies that I went into.
Yeah. How are you doing your research? Were you going to Expo West, for example?
Oh, yeah.
Walking the halls, all the halls, and what was out there. Talk about that process.
Of course, I would always go to Expo West, but that was only within the last 5 years. Before that, the research was being a consumer. I spend, as my fiance likes to say, more time on Redfin or more time in the grocery store than any human possible. I love going to the grocery store and going up and down the aisles and seeing what products are new, talking to the managers, talking to the staff at the grocery store, seeing what's working, what's not working, and why.
What grocery stores are you going to? What's your
all over?
Yeah,
all over. I mean, for me, I sure the Air Ones and stuff like that are great, or Whole Foods and stuff, but I want something that's mass American appeal. And so my fiance is from Alabama, and so I usually, before making an investment, I always check it with her and with her family, just because they have a totally different view than someone that grew up in LA has, from price point to flavor to taste to just product market fit. And I want something that's not for the niches. I want something that's mass.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, Erewhon, if you want a $90 pineapple, you can get it at Erewhon.
Yeah.
It maybe doesn't represent the rest of the country, but fun niche specialty retailer.
And that can work, you know, it can
yeah.
work, especially if you build enough brand identity there, and then it moves over to, the next chains of, you're in the Pacific Northwest and you're in Whole Foods and you're, making the moves to get, from natural into more larger chains and stuff like that. But I usually like to go to larger chain stores.
Mm-hmm. And who else was trying to give you advice, or where were you getting influence from? I can imagine, and people who are watching this, probably they have their parents or their friends, or they have their colleagues saying, "Oh, that's a crazy idea. You shouldn't do this." Or were you getting pulled this way and that way from, who was influencing you in your life at that time, making decisions?
Yeah, I mean, it was a mix of course, my parents. I always bounced things off of friends, but ultimately it came down to just kind of my gut.
Yeah.
I always wanted something that I truly would use and that I was a customer of, and that I was a believer in. And
yeah, and I guess maybe the question that's under the surface that I'm trying to ask is, like, how do you? It sounds like you used intuition, and also you're trying to scratch your own itch with wanting to get out of the pizza business. Not that it was not a bad business, but just like you were looking for a new solution. You're leveling up in terms of your wellness or your health. But did you get any pushback? Like, you're crazy to jettison this business, Patrick. It was, so profitable. It's doing great. Why are you giving up? It's like, I'm asking, I guess, how do you know when to give up? My mentor, Seth Godin, wrote this book called The Dip. And The Dip is all about knowing when to quit or when to push through.
Right.
And the dip is a really difficult area because it feels so difficult. It feels like it's not working, or it feels like, you're pushing that rock, who's the Greek mythology is Sisyphus, I think is his name. He's pushing the rock up the hill.
Right.
So how did you know when to quit?
I wouldn't say I like to look at it as quitting. Pivoting,
Yeah.
Sure. And why did I go out of the pizza, restaurant or anything like that? I think for me, it's always really important. And for anyone watching, I mean, the advice that I've always received from my dad is, how do you zoom out, and how do you look at what is your North Star? Where is it that you want to go? So for me, I didn't want to be just a pizza chain operator. I didn't want to be, no matter if there was more money there or not, I wanted to be a movie star, and I wanted to build multiple brands under my portfolio. And ultimately, the mission was to give back to America, to provide Americans with healthier alternatives to what was out there in the food and beverage space, because that's what I was passionate about.
Yeah.
And so if I take a step back and I look at my North Star, how do I go there? And just doing pizzas was not getting me there. Right. And so if I sold out and took that money and parlayed it into multiple other businesses, that was taking a step closer towards my dreams and where I wanted to go. And then furthermore, after that, I knew, okay, I don't want to just go and invest into other people. I don't want to just go and invest into other brands. I want to learn as much as I can these next years from these different brands. If my hypothesis is working, that Americans want better food and healthier alternatives. And then now I want to go and take that information and build brands in-house from the ground up, and I own the majority stake of the company.
Yeah, you want to have the IP. You want to.
I want to, yes, and that's where we did. That's what happened during COVID when I created MOSH, and that's once again. So I think for people listening, first off, I would never look at it as quitting or not. To me, it's just always really important to look at, where do I want to go in life, and where is it that I really, if I could close my eyes and take 15, 30 seconds and dream of like a perfect place to go, and then reverse from there and just create the GPS, create the ways, create the maps of what gets me closer and closer and closer towards that end goal. And for me, it was very clear that it wasn't just staying into one business.
I love that lesson. I'm just going to underscore something I'm hearing you saying, which is, sometimes I think we can all get stuck in this analysis paralysis, which is, man, we want to find just the exact thing that we, it's our passion, it's our destiny.
Yeah.
And so maybe we're like aiming and we never fire.
Right.
So we're just waiting. And so I think your approach, just jumping out there and making intelligent choices, but doing the thing. Maybe it wasn't the thing that was going to be your lifelong, mission.
Right.
You did pizza.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
And it was great.
Yeah.
For a season. And then you decided to turn the chapter. Now you're doing something else.
Right.
I think that's really a healthy approach because even, a showbiz term, 1 for the money, 2 for the show, where that came from.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes, you do pizza for the money.
Yeah.
And then you get that money and you parlay it into the show.
Right.
So you could do your own show.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing.
No, not at all.
People do movies like that all the time.
Yeah.
Not the greatest movie, but, you take that, you parlay that into something else, and then you produce your own film and it becomes amazing.
Right.
Right. A great lesson. So then you got into the wellness space. You started doing MOSH. It's the pandemic. We're all hunkered down. On this show, we talk about brands a lot.
Yeah.
What is the Patrick Schwarzenegger brand? A personal brand.
So separate from MOSH.
Yeah, we'll get there. Let's start with you first.
Yeah.
Because I think personal brands are extremely important, especially now.
Even if you look back 20, 30 years ago, my dad did this before pretty much anyone. From his ties with whether it was Audemars Piguet or with Planet Hollywood was one of the greatest examples of success stories, and then fall off of utilizing celebrities, creating a brand around celebrities, and building the brand identity throughout the world.
Right.
And they did that in a tremendous way, to becoming a public, entity and being hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. I think what happened was with Instagram and social media and stuff, and as the last couple of years, we've seen so many different creators, which is a beautiful thing, think that they can create a company.
Right.
And that ultimately they have 1 million followers. And if they just get 10% of those followers to buy, it's a multi-million-dollar company and stuff like that.
Right.
Consumers are smart.
Agreed.
Let me say that again to other people watching. Consumers are very smart, and they can sniff out when someone is BS or when someone has a real tie to a story.
Yeah, if they're just phoning it in or not.
Yes, and that was, I know we're not talking about MOSH too much yet, but that was a defining moment for me with why I wanted to do MOSH, was because my mom had dedicated her life the past 20-something years towards Alzheimer's research, towards brain health research. Her father, was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, passed away from Alzheimer's, and through her research, and now is a partner with the Cleveland Clinic and the world's largest brain health institute, of figuring out why is it that women or people that are of color are disproportionately affected by brain-related diseases and Alzheimer's. And so they found through research that food is one of the largest impacts on someone's brain health. Same with diet, overall, and exercising and socializing and many other pillars, but food was. And now how can we learn about that and see what foods or what type of a diet can have a positive impact on someone's brain health? Not end Alzheimer's or reverse it, but impact it in a positive way, prolong it. And so that's why I wanted to do the company with my mom, because it was cool to do a mother-son company. It was something that, it's mission-driven. It's built on a why, not on a what, and it gives back. And so I think that, which we'll talk about, it's working because we're built on a why. And I believe that customers buy the why, not the what.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where we've seen a differentiation between just celebrities building brands for no reason versus ones that have true reason.
Yeah, I'm really glad you made that distinction, and I 1,000% agree. You can tell when someone's phoning it in, or they just got a paycheck to
exactly
something, or if their heart's in it, or if they're leading the company. A couple months ago, we had Chris Gallant on the show, who's the CEO. He's now moving on, but he runs Chamberlain Coffee. And Emma Chamberlain, YouTuber, popular face, super relevant because, she started that channel sipping coffee and has been such a coffee lover. That was so on brand for her that it wasn't a departure. So I 1,000% agree with you that that's the way to do it correctly.
Yeah.
So let's go back.
Yeah, sorry. Back to my brand.
Yeah. So what's your personal brand?
That's a great question, and it's under construction.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. The past years, in the past, it was very different than what it is now.
Okay.
And that was a kind of during a COVID moment as well. I've been doing acting and film work for the past, 10, 11 or more years, actually now, 15 years. I forget that I'm 30. Been in theater school, been in acting class, and I've had, smaller roles in the past, and they've gained traction in the past years. But really, I had trouble being taken serious. And
why do you think that is?
For a plethora of reasons. I mean, I think that, whether it's people associate you with your last name right away,
Nepo
or
baby.
Sure, Nepo baby, or they might think that, when they look at pull up your Instagram feed or something like that, and you have stuff of, it just doesn't look like a movie star, doesn't look like a real actor, and, why maybe just, maybe he's getting his feet wet with this, but he's not serious about it.
People judge a book by its cover.
Sure.
Yeah.
And whether that's the consumer or whether that's, casting directors or that's directors or that's agents, or whatever it might be.
It's all subjective.
And so I kind of made the decision during COVID and kind of when I got my first real serious dramatic role on The Staircase on HBO, where I was opposite multiple different Oscar winners and Emmy winners. I think I was the only one that wasn't. That's kind of when I was like, okay, this is my opportunity to shift the opinion of a lot of people watching me and watching my brand and watching where I can go, and especially people in the industry. Like, this is my one opportunity to change that. And so
what did you do?
Well, what was the start was going to my Instagram and probably deleting 95% of my posts.
Okay.
From college humor to just random kind of, photos of myself or I just thought about kind of what we talked about before of the North Star. If I wanted to look back and see where did I want to go, and if there were careers that I wanted to emulate, whether that's like Leonardo DiCaprio, a George Clooney, a Shia LaBeouf, whatever it might be, Ryan Gosling, what are they doing?
Right.
What are they doing? Success leaves clues. There are people that are very successful that you can go back and watch what have they done to get to where they are.
Sure.
If you look at all these different movie stars, they're not out and about all the time in the public. They're not posting about where they're going to get coffee every day. They're not going and showing you their outfit. They're not influencers.
Right.
They're actors.
You sort of
they're
dress
stars
for the part that you want.
And so
Yeah.
I had kind of a moment to myself of just like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Why am I doing kind of this in the middle if this is where I want to go? And Ryan Reynolds is another example of someone that's career is probably the most in line with where I would want to go.
Never heard of him.
But he's done such a genius job of creating a movie star route while also creating the production and then the businesses underneath the production company.
He's brilliant. I don't understand where it comes from, but he's got the stuff.
He's got it. And so I say that my brand is under construction because I fully have pulled back. And now I'm way more cognizant of what I'm posting, what I'm doing, where I'm going, all these different things.
Yeah.
Because I want to be taken first off and foremost serious as an actor and in the film space. And I think that, with The Staircase and then with Gen V and now with White Lotus coming out and American Sports Story, those things have added to that. But now I just kind of do every decision under that lens, whereas before I didn't.
So smart. That's excellent advice. Again, whether you have a flower shop or you've got an attorney's office that you're building, or you're starting a energy protein bar or something, in the wellness space, doesn't matter what it is, that advice translates across the board. Actor, singer, whatever.
Yep.
Guitar player. You should be thinking whether or not what you're putting out there is on brand or off brand.
Right.
And how that, is on target with the North Star or not.
Right.
And then plan accordingly.
Yes.
Very smart advice.
And I guess on a larger level, I worked with someone on that of trying to figure out where do I want to go? Where is it that I want? And it took a lot of conversations with and understanding and writing down and journaling of trying to kind of come up with an overall mission of where I wanted to go, which was we've kind of boiled it down to just impacting people at scale.
Yeah.
And whether that's the business side with the food products, whether that's if I want to go into politics one day, whether that's with films or whatever, all those different things boil down to wanting to impact people at scale in a positive way. If you're watching one of my shows or something and you want to, have a laugh, or you want to, I impact you dramatically, or however that is, or I have a product, or I have whatever that is, now it goes under that. And that's kind of how I've started to look at it in a different way.
Super smart. And, if you are 14 right now and you're posting on Instagram or TikTok and you want to project out 10 years from now, you might think about Patrick's advice. The internet is forever, at least, if you can delete it, fine. But it's like, start now, because that, it leaves it's sort of indelible, and it leaves an impression. People start to form an opinion about you based on what you look like or what you say. Or so we talked about your parents. Both of them, I think, have a very distinct brand. And in this series, maybe 500 different times, I've asked people that question: what's their brand? I want to talk about the MOSH brand, but before we do that, what do you think a brand is? What is a brand?
Ooh, that's a hard way to articulate.
You're welcome to ask me, because I've heard 500 different answers.
You have,
yeah. Unless you have
I mean, if you want to tell me what your brand is, go ahead.
No, my personal brand.
Yeah.
What is a brand?
Oh, I mean, a brand identity, I guess, would be be an easy way for someone else to articulate to a friend what that brand represents.
Yeah, I mean, so let's take your dad, for example.
Sure.
Very distinct brand, personal brand. If you go see a Schwarzenegger film, or if you show up in the room with Arnold, you already know, without even meeting him before, what you're going to get. And so a brand, in some ways, is a shorthand. It's like what you expect before it happens.
Right.
And so I would guess that if you're going to show up with Arnold, you might get a very firm handshake. You might be
so an impression of what someone has of a person or an object or a thing.
Yeah, let's go to another example. You go to a James Bond, you hear about a new James Bond movie, and before that movie even comes out, before you see the trailer, you kind of know what you're going to get before you get it, right? You're going to get a guy in a pretty good-looking suit, probably some fast cars, maybe some violence.
Yeah.
There's a plot where he's got to save the day.
Yeah.
He's going to be the good guy. There might be some loss that goes to the territory, but in the end, the hero will prevail, right?
Right.
And so that James Bond brand is distinct.
Sleek, sexy.
Yeah. But it's distinct, right?
Yeah, of course.
There's no question.
Action.
There's gonna be some shaken and not stirred. There's going to
be
all the usual suspects. And so whether that's Arnold Schwarzenegger or whether that's a James Bond brand or whatever, brands are distinct. Another good example is, can you close your eyes and imagine, like, if Nike built a hotel? It doesn't exist today, but, can you close your eyes and even smell what that Nike hotel might smell like or look like, what amenities it might have?
Yeah.
That's one measure of knowing whether or not you have a brand,
right?
Is if it's distinct.
Yeah.
I think about the, what's that Birkin bag? Have you ever heard of
a Birkin bag?
Birkin bag?
Yeah.
Yes, I don't even know how to say it. Those are expensive, right?
Yeah, that's all I know.
You can't just buy one on the corner.
No, unless you're in some,
right?
Canal Street, maybe.
Right, and so, what goes with the territory of that bag is it's expensive, it's exclusive, it's rare, not everyone can get it. And so brands are distinct that way. And then once you create this brand, then it lives in the hearts and minds of other people, right? So they get to decide what your brand is about. By contrast, back to the hotel example, if you think about, like if Hyatt made a running shoe, what would that look like?
Right.
More difficult to imagine, right? And so, Hyatt does have a brand, but it's not that distinct. It's in the commodity territory. And what happens with commodities, unfortunately, is they get in this sort of sort by price.
Of course.
And, then you're in this herd competing on price, and that's not a race that you want to be in, because it's often a race to the bottom. So how would you describe, both your mom and dad have a very distinct personal brand. they're very different.
Yeah.
Let's start with your mom.
Very.
How would you describe your mom's personal brand?
Man, I would say mission-driven, giving back, impacting people, helping others, nonprofit, and then those are some words that come quick to mind.
Mm-hmm. How about
thoughtfulness? Very articulate. Very yeah. I don't know if those are good answers or not.
Well, you would know best.
Yeah.
I look at your mom from the outside looking in, and I see a very strong woman.
Yeah.
Like
yeah. Very strong. Yep.
a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it too.
Leader.
Yep.
Courageous. Doesn't take any shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Some of those would cross over to my dad.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your dad.
Yeah.
What do you think his personal brand is?
Yeah, definitely strong, red, forceful leader, doesn't take shit from anyone. That's for sure. Determined, strong, bold, unique. So
I see, if I would just maybe say one word, I see discipline.
Yeah, discipline. Yeah.
I mean, the discipline it takes to
Discipline is great. Yeah.
build your body up like that.
Yeah.
Endure in a business that he had no experience in. I mean, incredible tenacity, maybe.
Yeah.
You know. So let's flash forward then to MOSH. Where'd the name come from?
Yeah. So that's something we worked on and struggled with a lot.
Say more about that.
We could not come up with a name.
What were some of the other iterations?
We were doing oh my God, we were looking at like Mindstein.
Okay,
we were looking at like just Brain Bar. We were looking at Mind. We were looking at a bunch of different, and then it boiled down to how do we incorporate my mom into the name, and then it was MOS. It was Moss, and that's my mom's initials, Maria Owing Shriver. And then we were pretty close to going with that, and then people kept saying Mossy, and my mom got very turned off by that.
Okay.
And so she was like, let's just add health to it. And it was MOSH, MOSH.
Clever.
So Maria Owing Shriver Health. And that's ultimately how the name came.
Okay.
And yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so then back on this hot seat. So then what is the MOSH brand?
Yeah, I mean, we're a mission-driven company aimed to educate consumers about what they eat impacts their brain health.
Okay.
So
I'm going to push back a little bit.
Sure.
I love that. I love that stance.
Yeah.
I get it. But so what if you're in a competition with other mission-driven companies?
Of course.
You know, like, what separates you? So it's the brain health?
Yes, it's definitely the brain health. That's our goal, kind of our differentiating factor.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean we're not going to compete against other people. We definitely will.
Yeah, there's
and
protein in it.
Yes, my mom's goal is to create multiple different product lines that all speak to brain and body health. So why are you buying a bar that's just for your body when you can buy one that's for your brain and body?
Right.
You know, it still has the high protein, still has the high fiber, still has low sugar, but it has brain health ingredients incorporated into it.
Yeah. In particular.
And she wants to do that with protein powder. Why are we always just thinking about our biceps and our thighs or our, something like that? Why are we not thinking about incorporating our brain, which is our largest asset? So that's something that we're working on now, is kind of a brain and body powder, like a morning protein powder. So on and so forth, if that makes sense. I mean, it's been a lot to push back and only start with one product because it's just the most cost-effective way right now, and trying to really learn about what's working and what's not. But yeah, that's kind of what our angle is.
Yeah. And so talk about the science a little bit, because that seems to be a big differentiator. We were talking off camera. Someone got wind that I was doing a story, on, let's just say, wellness.
Yeah.
And, all of a sudden, the mailroom got 20 different protein bars.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the differentiator is some of these ingredients. What's the science behind it?
Yeah. Well, let's take a step back for when we started the company. So for MOSH, for our first product, is kind of a superfood, nutrient-dense protein bar with brain health ingredients in it. Like I said, we're about 170 calories, 13 grams of protein, 3 grams of sugar or less, high fiber, and then we've got a variety of different brain health ingredients in it. Well, when we started, it was one thing to where it is now. Now we have Cognizin, which is acetylcholine, which is proven to be great for brain health, cognitive functionality, focus, memory. We've got vitamin B12, vitamin D3, flax seeds, omegas, lion's mane, ashwagandha, so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. But when we first launched the product, we didn't have Cognizin, acetylcholine in it. And the reason why we added that was for the research. It cost us a lot more to add, but it allowed us to have substantiation. I mean, we were able to make claims with it, whereas no other food product or bar product on the market can do so.
Got it.
Whether they do, that's up to them.
Right.
But can they?
And so help me understand, as a layperson that doesn't know the science or the research that you did, what does that mean really?
So why we added it is, number one, is for the consumer. It's something that actually works. Sure. and it's beneficial.
Sounds like I want that, but I just don't know what it is.
Well, the main thing is, one of the benefits of having this company be my mother, Maria, and myself, is that we get to really push it out there, and we can use our brands to push it out there. The bad thing is, because of that, people will come after you. They'll sue you. They're way more interested in is it actually working? Is it
right? Are you
efficacious?
Yeah.
Sure.
Right.
And we're always telling the truth, but FDA and different things have way different truths than what a normal person has.
Yeah, I have some experience in the supplement, category.
Well, supplement is totally different.
Okay, yeah. So that's what I'm a person. I'm trying to understand.
So a supplement and a food product are completely different. If I wanted to put in all these different things in a supplement, great. I can put a little pill out there with all these different ingredients, and whether you want to buy it or not, that's up to you. I could have 5% of your daily value, or I can have 250%.
Oh, I see. So as a category, you're saying like supplements, they kind of leave them alone because they're unregulated.
Totally.
You could say it's great for your brain, but it might not be.
Yes, it's way more
food. It's regulated by FDA.
Yes. So we put in, for example, when we were creating this product, our goal was, how do we make it the best brain and body food possible?
Okay.
We wanted to add, omegas. We wanted to add vitamin D. We wanted to add vitamin B12. We wanted to have all these different things in it. Then the FDA comes back and says, whoa. Vitamin D, you can only add 15% of your daily value, not 100%, even though that's what's beneficial for people.
I see.
We only allow 15%.
Gotcha.
Oh, wait, so now we can only have 15% of vitamin D. Then we can't tell people that it's giving them vitamin D to 100% because it's 100% of what the FDA allows, but that's only 15% of what a normal human is allowed.
I see.
Something like that.
So you got to work within their parameters.
Oh, yeah. You got to work within their parameters.
See, I don't know these things.
Yeah,
I'm learning.
That's what I learned.
Yeah.
I didn't know any of this also.
Okay.
And then you learn more and more about them and what's considered GRAS, which is generally regarded as safe to consume.
Mm-hmm.
And while all these things are safe to consume as a supplement, once you add it to food, they could not be.
Interesting.
So certain functional mushrooms, when we wanted to put a bunch of different mushrooms and functional ingredients in it in the food product, they said, no, you can't. Those aren't generally regarded as safe. But you can take them in pill and powder and everything. Oh, yeah, we don't touch that. It's just, once it enters food, it's a totally different category.
So it sounds very political to me.
Oh, it's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, it's for people watching and listening that have food products. I mean, you wouldn't imagine what you have to deal with.
Yeah,
the different, it's absurd.
Okay.
For better or for worse, it's just what I've learned. But anyways, going back, so the science, I mean, my mom has her personal experience with Alzheimer's and brain health. And then she also put together a great, brain health research team and scientific advisory board for MOSH, and, really helping us make decisions towards our brand and our ethos and ultimately what speaks to a brain healthy diet, which is, high protein, low, it is low processed foods, with low sugar, high healthy nutrient fats, and then ingredients that are proven to be beneficial for brain health, like the omegas, like the flax seeds, like the cognizant, so on and so forth.
Yeah. Are you guys thinking about packaging too? What just popped in my brain is, that butter brand Kerrygold?
Yeah, of course.
It's like one of the most popular butter brands, but they just had a big problem with parabens in their packaging. And it sort of defeats the purpose, right? Of this being so healthy. And I don't know what I don't know about Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah.
I'm learning more.
Me too.
But I think I know that parabens are not good.
Yeah.
And so are you guys thinking about packaging as well? Or?
Yeah, I mean, we think about everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Where the sourcing ingredients are coming from, the difference between, we have grass-fed whey in there versus normal whey. We even thought about, should we be making this product 100% all USDA organic? That was our goal.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at the pricing of it. Okay, wait, our mission is to get, for everybody to be able to buy this product and affordability and for people to think about brain health at all ages and all incomes. But now we're going to be selling a $5.50 bar that no one can afford. It didn't make sense. So we had to start with where we could start, and doing the best that we could. But it's we think about everything. I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah. And what mistakes have you made? Let's talk about the F word for a second, failure.
Yeah.
You didn't like it when I said that you quit.
Yeah.
You reframed that as pivot. How do you feel about the F word, failure? Do you see it as failure?
I don't see it as failure. I see it as failure in circumstances. I don't think it's a failure if something bad happens and you learn from it and you grow from it.
Right.
We've had a lot of those.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of
Such
those.
as?
I mean, there's a laundry list. I can just go from day one.
Well, in the context of, people who are also trying to build their brand.
Yes.
What are some of these lessons that you can impart from the mistakes that you made in order to get it right? I mean, you're still a work in progress, right?
What you just said was perfect, because that was my first mistake, was getting it right. That's what I was focused on, was getting it right.
Yeah.
And we took over a year to launch the product. We tried hundreds of iterations of bars. And am I happy we made tweaks and this thing and that thing? Of course. But getting it right and getting it perfect is not necessary when you're launching. And from my experience, and I'll tell you why, is because ultimately when you launch a brand, what you think is right and what you think is perfect might not be what the consumers like or think is perfect. And I think the best learning experience I had was we should have just moved faster and put it out. We should have gotten the product out there and learned product market fit. It doesn't need to be a huge splash and going to millions of people right away. What I should have done is started the company, gone out to a couple thousand people and learned from them what was working, what was not working, what were they liking, what were they not liking, and then made changes, which we did, but on a larger scale.
Yeah.
And
so paint a picture for me.
Yeah.
I can imagine. How many flavors do you guys have? 4 or 5?
No, now we have about 10. It'll change.
But when you started?
When we started, it was 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you started with 3 flavors.
Yeah.
First of all, why 3? Is it just like, was that a magic number?
Well, we wanted to have something without chocolate as well. So we were going to do 2, but then it was peanut butter chocolate, and then we just wanted one without any chocolate. So
was that the lemon you started with?
No, we did peanut butter, peanut butter chocolate, and chocolate.
Okay. I mean,
Yes.
The lemon is delicious.
The lemon is great. That's probably our high seller online.
It's like a lemon bar. It's tangy. It's nice. Okay, but so how did you arrive at that? Was it just like, this is what we think is going to go?
Yeah, this is what we think is going to go. Peanut butter
is a difficult process, right?
It is. Peanuts are way cheaper than almonds in doing almond butter, so peanut butter first flavors were better for us.
Yeah.
Everyone loves peanut butter.
Unless you're allergic.
Right. And unless you don't like peanut butter, which you find out about. And that's just what we wanted to go with. That's what we went with, and it was very kind of generic,
you didn't look
easier.
At the other competitors, like, oh, this competitor is somewhat close to us. They're selling out of their peanut butter. You didn't look at it that way?
Well, yeah. I mean, peanut butter is still probably the largest selling flavor.
Okay. That's what I was getting at. I was like, how did you make that decision?
Yes. It was based on my mom and I both loving peanut butter.
Sure.
But also, yes, that is probably the largest, selling flavor out there.
Yeah. We're all making these choices, right?
Yeah.
What SKU do we come out? Is it just one flavor, or do we need 2 or 3 or 6? Okay, so you started with peanut butter, chocolate, and what was the third?
Chocolate.
Just pure
And chocolate.
I mean, you can't go wrong with just chocolate.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you can.
Did you?
That's what went wrong.
Okay.
Yes.
Say more.
So like I said, I mean, our first learning experience was, I wish I did not just, I didn't try to focus and make so many changes to what I thought was best. I should have just launched it and learned and taken consumer feedback, kind of like a beta, a smaller group test. My next thing was just food. I mean, food is not easy to do. I mean, no business is easy to do, but my first learning experience launching the bar was, first off, was supply and demand. I had no idea how many people were going to be interested in this company.
Right.
And I was scared to put too much money into inventory, especially when it was our first kind of run.
Okay, let's talk about that for a second. So I imagine that you have a recipe. Mm-hmm. Did you have to go through several different iterations of the recipe?
Hundreds.
Hundreds.
Okay.
And are you just sitting there, you got to be sick of your bars by then?
I mean, just in my office yesterday I got probably 16 different options of one of our cookie dough bars.
Okay.
With different levels of different types of proteins to make the moisture change and stuff. It's almost impossible to tell the differences, but you just go and you eat and try to tell what things you like or don't like and why.
You did the work.
Oh yeah, I've probably eaten a couple, 100,000 bars in my time. Okay. But anyway,
so there's the recipe. You're getting it right. You're refining, but based on your own taste.
Based on my own taste.
You didn't have like a research group.
No.
Or friends.
We did this very small budget, out of pocket. My mom and I paid for it all, and so I didn't want to put a lot of money into inventory.
Yeah. What were the MOQs? Like, what were the minimum runs that you had to do first?
Well, you could do kind of anything above 10,000 bars, but you have to pay an additional fee to do under. Now then it grew to 50,000. Now it's 100,000 plus bars. And when you're first launching, and I'm doing, let's just say I did 10,000 of each bar, I started doing the math in my head. Oh my God, okay, I have this many friends. They'll all buy it to support. Now this thing, now how long is that? Okay, the product really is only good for a year max, but you want to get it to people within 6 months. And I was like, oh my God, I have 30,000 bars that I need to sell. Yeah. And I'm doing these 6-pack variety packs of 2 of each flavor. So then you have to think about, okay, how many packs of 6 do you need to sell?
Yeah.
And it was just, I was like, how am I going to do this? And so my tactic was, which in hindsight was actually quite good, which was we marketed an email giveaway.
Okay.
So at the time, for a lot of people watching, maybe you'd know how to acquire a customer, your CAC, your customer acquisition cost. People are paying on Instagram, on Facebook, on news channel, whatever, to acquire you.
Yep.
That's expensive to do. What's not expensive to do is to acquire someone's email.
Yeah. Well, so what was, let's say, the industry CAC, the cost of acquisition at that time? Maybe not your specific, but like, what did you estimate was the acquisition cost?
Oh, I mean, if you have usually probably 3 times your product. So, I mean, if you're selling something if it was like 15, maybe it'd be around $30, $40 or something. Yeah. This was just at the change of iOS, so it was going up. Mm-hmm. We were doing acquisitions for under $1 for emails. Yeah. The opportunity to win a free year of giveaway.
Okay. And how were you promoting that?
Facebook.
Okay.
And I gathered...
Not Instagram?
Yeah. No, Facebook.
Meta? Just Facebook?
Yeah, Facebook, yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Got maybe, I don't know, it's like 30-something thousand emails. And then when launch day came, I picked some people to win free bars, and then we emailed everyone that we had launched the company. If they wanted a special discount before everyone else, here it was. We sold out in a day. It was amazing.
30,000 bars?
Yes.
Wow.
Great. But a lot of people subscribed.
Okay, wait. Let me pause and unpack what just happened. Okay, so you decided that the cost per acquisition was too high.
Yeah.
You weren't willing or able to spend $40 times 30,000.
Sure. Yeah.
Let's just do that math really fast because I can't.
These are rough now. I mean,
yeah. We're just spitballing here. Mm-hmm. So I don't do math in public, but I do it on my calculator.
What?
So 30,000 bars times $40 to acquire them. That's $1.2 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was that was not going to be possible or even smart. So you decided to do the email strategy.
Yes.
And so you did some Facebook advertising.
Yes.
Some Facebook ads, which you can control the budget daily.
Yes.
Didn't get up to 1.2 million, I'll bet.
No.
And you had X amount of people sign up for the promotion.
Yeah.
And about how many signed up?
I think it was around 36,000 or so.
Okay, so that's a good number.
Yeah.
And how long did you run that promo?
About a month before launching.
Wow, okay. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Actually.
Month
And
and a half. Yeah, whatever it was.
and so you had a website up, you had a landing page.
Landing page, yep.
And the incentive was, hey, sign up, give us your email for a chance to win a
Year supply of free bars.
a year supply.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a pretty good offer.
Yeah. But for me, the cost of that is...
No, I get it, but that's a generous offer. That's not like win one bar.
Yeah.
A year's worth. That's a great, in exchange for my email.
Yeah.
Great offer.
Yeah.
Smart. Okay, so you got 36,000 people.
Yeah.
And then a month later, when you were ready to launch,
Yeah.
you had 36,000 emails to start with, and you continued probably your Facebook advertising.
Yeah.
And you launched the company.
Yeah.
And you sold out of 30,000 bars, all three flavors, in one day.
Yeah.
Amazing.
1.5 days, pretty much. Yeah.
So it was all direct DTC.
All direct to consumer.
Okay. So how about the website? How long did you work on the website?
For months.
Was that expensive?
Yes, that was expensive.
Okay.
That was expensive.
What was the strategy behind
We wanted to customize it. We wanted to make certain things look, very great.
Yeah. Did you build it on Shopify or something?
Yes,
Yeah.
Shopify.
Okay.
A team called Pointer out of Canada built it for us. They were great.
Harley Finkelstein's been on the show, CEO.
Okay. Yeah, Shopify. Yeah. And so the website was great. The landing page was great. Everything was great.
It worked.
Yes, it worked. We launched it to those emails. We launched it on our own platforms, my mom and myself. Woohoo.
Yeah, you got the...
Yes, I was filming The Staircase in Atlanta doing night shoots when we launched it. I would say about the day after we launched it, and I got my first order that came to me. We overnighted it from the co-man. I learned very quickly that launching a food product in the beginning of September, and it's still extremely hot in most of America, chocolate melts.
Chocolate melts.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay. Uh-oh.
And when it melted, it had an impact on the taste with the lion's mane, with the functional mushrooms.
Okay.
So all these years and months of making sure everything tasted perfect completely changed on day one of launching.
Yeah.
And I learned that. Consumers learned that. Our customer service learned that. And that was just one example of first day problems. And even furthermore, okay, we had a lot of people saying this chocolate, there's a problem, blah, 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 blah. We'll refine it. We want to get you a new product. We're going to make it right to you. But, oh, no, there's a total disaster on supply chain. This was during COVID. There were boats lined up outside of Long Beach. We had product on there. We had our packaging. We had ingredients. 12 weeks was the next time we could make bars.
Oh, no.
We had people on subscription. We had people that wanted new products because of the chocolate melting.
Yeah.
We had everything.
Everything went wrong.
Everything that could. So what seemed like the best day ever of launching and selling out the next day turned into I didn't sleep for days.
Yeah.
I didn't. I really didn't.
How did you fix it?
It was a complete cluster excuse my language, of I was filming night shoots while dealing with it, and it just was like, it felt like everything just crumbled. Seriously, where you're just like, and that's why I go back to that first idea of like, don't try to perfect it, because you learn a lot on your first production, and you learn a lot from consumers, and you learn a lot from everything. And so I'm so glad that I didn't put more into the inventory, even though we sold out. And how did we fix it was we went and made changes to the product. By the time we shipped the new ones out, it was around Thanksgiving, Black Friday-ish. We actually did more in the day that we relaunched it by about 2x than the day we launched it.
Okay.
And then we sent out direct mailers to everyone that bought that didn't come back to buy, apologizing and offering them a free 6-pack on us. And so on and so forth. We just kept learning and trying to find ways to how do we get those customers happy. And if you look at the data, and look at the cohorts from that's now 3 years ago in about 2 weeks, our first cohort is still the strongest cohort to date. It's still the people that have spent by far the most amount of money on MOSH throughout the years.
Yeah.
Of course, they've had the longest to spend the most money, but by far they're the early adopters.
Yeah, you're retaining them, which is good.
Right. But early adopters are very important because they tell you what they think. And which is ultimately why we did a rebrand and a reformulation within the last year as we've gone to retail. But yeah, that was the first month was hell.
Yeah. So I'm just going to summarize a couple of things that I heard that are really valuable.
Sure.
One is you should have probably done more focus groups or, white glove, sent it to your friends, here, bring it to the gym.
Yeah.
Let everyone sample it and tell you how much they love or hate the peanut butter or the chocolate or
Sure.
witness it melting in the person's hand or not, right? You could have done that. You learned that. Isn't it interesting, Patrick, that the only way to get experience is through error?
Yeah. Well, that's why I said I don't see it as failure because we learned from that. And now once it hits June 1st, we only ship 2 days a week, or you can ask for different shipping options if you want, or you can get a cool pack. But we ship on Monday and Tuesday so that we don't ship on Thursday and it ends up in a warehouse over the weekend and melt. So we've learned from that.
Yeah.
We have the ability for people to put in, cold packs if they want. So we've learned from that.
Yeah.
And then we also put a flyer within our packaging during the summer months saying this may melt. It's totally fine if you want to put it in the fridge or the freezer. It's normal.
Yeah. This is food. It can melt.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But all those things we didn't know when we launched, know. And so I think I've learned from that experience as well with multiple other experiences. And then I don't see it as a failure. I see it as was it an error? Was it a hiccup and a road bump? Yes, for sure. It was a terrible week and a difficult first way to launch. But like everything in life, what you learn from it and how you, as tacky as it is, get up and continue to fight through is the more important.
Yeah. I mean, we're fighting over semantics here, but, let's use failure as a word, operative word, and let's reframe it as something that can be positive when and if we learn from it. So there's this idea that the person who fails the most wins.
Right.
And that's because eventually, assuming you're failing fast, assuming that you don't fail too far that you can never come back and play again.
Right.
You're learning from it. And all of those key learnings are data points and signals that you can continue to hone and make your thing better so that eventually you get as close as you can to perfection.
Sure.
Some companies are better than others at doing that. I think about, the evolution of the Japanese automobile, which is looking at what American automobile made, and the Japanese seem to try and perfect that.
Yeah.
Or, all these different systems that are now getting better and better as we are perfecting the technology. But super important to understand that it's okay to fail as long as, you can come back and play another day, that you're learning from it. I think it's inevitable. You can't escape it.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
Especially in this space.
Yeah. So as we sort of come around and finalize things, what would you say, what is your advice to new founders? You're in the, are you co-CEO with your mom, or how does that work?
Yeah. I'm CEO. I'm not an employee of the company. I don't take $1 from the company.
Okay.
I never have. But I do run it like it's my baby, and so does my mom. We have offices here in LA that we're both at all the time. But, as CEO, what I'm really responsible for, and my mom is the overall vision. And it's also hiring. It's hiring the team that's responsible for the results, And so we have a really great team at MOSH. Everybody's been impacted, unfortunately, or fortunately, by someone in their family having Alzheimer's or a brain-related disease.
Right.
So everyone's really aligned with the mission. And we have a great team. And my mom is the one that has the 10-year vision. She's 30,000 feet up. I'm 10,000 feet up. And then we've got boots on ground.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how we orchestrate it.
Yeah. It's smart. She's got a little bit more life experience than you do.
For sure.
You're at a different stage. She's at a different stage.
And ultimately, I'm making her dream come true. And that's what's fun for me. She's the one that has this dream of what she wants to build in this brand. And I'm kind of the vessel and the one that's the medium trying to make it happen for her. And it's really fun because it's aligned with the category that I want to build, the Better For You Health and Wellness. It's mission driven. I get to work with my mom and I get to learn so much. I mean, so much about everything from business to leadership to team building to food, FDA, legal, entering into a grocery store and
Yeah.
just everything.
Well, what's a deeply held belief that you had maybe 5 years ago about wellness and health that you no longer have? Like, what's changed in your brain? What have you changed your mind about?
What have I changed my mind about? As far as kind of an investment thesis or whatever. I mean, the only thing that I see that's really changed is the amount of competition.
Yeah.
It's really grown tremendously, and everyone's really attacked this field, which is great. I mean, that's the idea of capitalism, and as at a whole is that people see these opportunities and go after it. But it's gotten way harder in the last couple of years, especially if you're trying to make it affordable to the masses with the increases of prices and costs.
Yeah. I'll give you an example of something that's happened to me. I mean, 5 or more years ago, I was pretty much wholly reliant on the medical system, doctors, experts for my own health. And although I love medicine and science and technology, ultimately I had to come to terms with being responsible for my own health.
Yeah.
That no one else is really looking out for me except for me.
True.
And specialists, as good as they are, if you go to see a heart specialist, they're just hyper-focused on the heart.
Yeah.
Not on your brain, turns out.
Right.
And so ultimately, what I learned is, I can't rely on modern medicine and doctors even to have my back. I've got to watch out for me first.
Right.
And then lean on them for expertise, wherever that is. But
I think that's grown tremendously as an overall macro trend. And the idea of food as medicine. I mean, you see some of these other, speaking of podcasters, whether it's a Peter Attia or a Huberman or so on and so forth. I mean, people now look at other, biomarks and metrics for their own longevity and for health besides their cholesterol or blood levels or, going to the heart expert or going to a brain expert. There are other markers now that people have direct influence over, whether that's an HRV or whether that's your muscle mass or your bone density or whatever that might be.
Yeah.
That's all impacted by food and by training and by other things that are all coexisting.
Yeah.
So for me, it's super exciting of how much, I guess, what's changed is that health and wellness maybe started out as a trend or a niche, and it's hit the tipping point of going to the masses for all areas, whether that is your science or your doctors or food, whether that's for working out. I mean, if you think about how crazy it is that when my dad was first here bodybuilding and stuff, it was impossible to find a gym. It was very hard. I mean, they had Muscle Beach and stuff like that, but now there's one on every few corners here,
Yeah.
There's pretty much, you talked about Hyatt or a Nike hotel, like not many hotels don't have gyms anymore.
Right.
If they're a decent hotel, it's like, so the impact that fitness and longevity and health and wellness markers and stuff like that is having on the general population, I think is something that's dramatically changed in the last 5 years.
Yeah, you're right. If you think about, Phil Knight's story, the whole Nike story, running that culture, I mean, that's barely 50 something years old.
Yeah.
It's not that old.
Yeah.
And then you look at the jazzercise or the sambas, whatever,
Yeah.
these movements that come up. It's all so new. If you could trade places with any CEO to run a CPG brand, I'm not talking about acting right now, I'm talking about CPG or, a company, who would you like to trade places with for a month just to be in their shoes, see what they see, experience what they experience?
Oh, Man, just to see it for fun, I probably would have to say, probably say Elon Musk, just to see what the heck goes on every day and all the different companies that he's working on and stuff. Not that I have any interest in that field, but I just would be curious to see if there was someone in the field of better for you health and wellness. I guess I would probably go to one of the larger conglomerates of just trying to whether it's a Kellogg's or something like that.
You ever entertain a buyout? Would you, what if you had an offer to be acquired?
I would always entertain it, but it would have to be for the right reasons and where they would want to go. I think the important thing is that the mission has to stay.
Yeah.
No matter what. And
It's
the integrity.
difficult.
But
If
it's
General
not,
Mills
I'm
comes
not,
in.
if General Mills comes in and says, yeah, we want to do this, but we want to take out all the brain health ingredients to impact, the bottom line and get, more profit or something, I would say, no, there's no point. If they came in and say, hey, we have all the manufacturing, we own all of this, and we have the ingredient sourcing, and we can bring your costs down by 50%, and we can, have this product be at $1.99 on shelf for the masses, and you talk about brain health, and you and your mom are the faces of it, and we make sure that we give, $5 million towards brain health research every year, and continue to put money towards the Cleveland Clinic Brain Health Institute of focusing on what foods have impact on brain health, then yeah, of course.
Yeah. Are you building this for potential acquisition? And if so, what does that look like versus, running it bootstrapped, forever?
No, I'm building this to make her dreams come true. I'm building this so that in 5 years you can go to a grocery store and a shelf and see a brain health section in the stores, and that there's pills and there's food and there's powders and stuff like that. If it sells one day, great. If it doesn't and it continues to grow, great. Those are both, viable paths forward. But I've never thought of building this brand of, within 4 years, I hope to sell it and make $1 million or something. It just never has crossed my mind.
I mean, we were just sitting back, chopping it up, reminiscing about the good old days and all that. Tracking my roots, where I came from and where I'm going. But like I say, man, always said it. It's not about the destination. It's all about the journey.